Welcome back to Vertical Thoughts. I'm here today. It's me, your host with the most. You know me. I've been here for a while. I'm here with Geek Climber.
Great to be here.
Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming up. You came up from not too far from here, so I appreciate you coming into the studio and making this happen.
Definitely great to be here.
Yeah. So you are a rock climber, YouTuber. Which one comes first?
Definitely rock climber.
Okay.
Because I've been climbing for 11 years, and then YouTube is a recent thing that happened, I think around 2 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. So rock climber and YouTuber instead of the other way around. For those not watching on YouTube, my cat just jumped over Geek Climber. They're used to this. Yeah, hearing the cat's antics, I think, is half of why people listen to this. But you can't drink his water.
Drinking my water. No.
Get out of here.
That's fine.
I'll now grab the cat's tail. Just there we go. Come on over here. She's getting pets. She's happy. So we're here a little bit to talk, about that, content creation. We talk about this a lot on the show, actually. We have many content creators on the show, myself included, and we like climbing content. I consume a staggering amount of climbing content. I mean, just on a day-to-day basis, videos, photos. I don't listen to any other climbing podcasts. Does that make me a charlatan, do you think?
Wow, you don't listen to other podcasts?
To be honest, I don't listen to podcasts at all. And one day I was just like, I'm just going to start a podcast.
That is surprising. Then say when you are driving, what do you listen to?
I'm a music guy. I'm just music. I have a billion songs. That's a little exaggerated, but I have many songs in my Spotify playlist, and I just crank them. Even the same songs, I have no problem listening to them over again. It's very strange. You're being very disruptive, miss. So we took a brief pause to put the cat away. So yeah, I consume a very large amount of climbing media. I'm big into YouTube videos, actually. I love watching climbing YouTube videos, just anything. I just turn on autoplay and just let it roll. And it's really cool, I think, the concentration now, I guess, because I don't know. And this is like this with many climbing media pieces, but 5 years ago, 10 years ago, if you look up rock climbing on YouTube, you don't get very many results, or at least very many people consistently making content. So it's cool that we live in a time and an age where more people are doing it, and more people do it consistently. You know what I mean? Rock climbing on YouTube has a presence, which is cool. So you said you started about 2 years ago?
Yep.
Okay. Talk to me a little bit about the foundations. Where did the idea come from? What inspired you to start a channel?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the reason I started the channel is actually a little bit, I guess, unconventional. So the reason I started a channel is to work on my English, because as you can tell from my accent that I'm an immigrant, and then English is not my first language. And I think YouTube is a great way for me to work on my English because, when I make a video, I can pre-write the script. And then for a sentence, I can repeat it for 10 times, and pick the best one with the best pronunciation, the one that sounds the most energetic. So for all the listeners, and if there's some pauses and if I speak slower, please do be understanding in this podcast, because obviously I cannot record the same thing 10 times and then pick the best one on the podcast.
Sure.
And then, some people might ask, why not just, make American friends and then get better in English that way. But I think it's natural for people to, hang out and make friends with people that have similar background to you.
Absolutely.
And then that you can relate to. And so for me, that's other immigrants. And obviously I'm not going to speak English to them. So that means the chance for me to speak English is basically at work, or say if I go to a restaurant and order something. And for me, I feel that's not enough. I want to be able to have fluent English conversation on all topics, and maybe eventually get to a point that I can do sales or marketing in English. I think that was the initial reason that I started YouTube.
Interesting. So I would agree that that's unconventional, but that's very valid. I mean, it is a good way to work on just communication in general. Even if you are an English speaker and you struggle with speaking, you feel like you're not a strong speaker. Recording yourself on a camera can really like drive that communication because you feel like you're talking to people.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I like that a lot. That's good. And you had been climbing for a long time since then.
Right.
Okay. When did you start climbing and how and why?
Oh, okay. So I came from a culture where, it's all about studying. Like studying is everything, and then sports, working out is not important. And then, the whole point is about studying, and then eventually if you study well enough, you can get the golden ticket to come to the United States and live a better life, which I fortunately is able to do. But it's not until during college that I realized that, playing sports is actually a very important thing. So there was a phase that I actually tried to explore different sports, and eventually there was a friend who brought me to climb, and I was like, oh, this is so fun. I immediately fall in love with it, and then I start climbing. Like for me, like climbing was fun, and then it's also a way to be healthy. And then so I kind of just climb, and then naturally progress to like V5s, and then plateau from there. And then the fun thing is it's actually not until last year when I made that handball training video that got viral, I realized that it's actually more than that, because like these might be say common sense to you and the listeners, but to me that wasn't, which is like climbing or sports in general. It's it's part of the culture, and also it forms a community, because if like a bunch of guys that's like pushing hard together, that forms friendships and bonds. So because like previously my mindset was I want to keep the mental quota for pushing hard on like career, right?
Yeah.
And definitely not climbing, but then that kind of changed. I kind of changed since that handball training video, and I do like make more friends, and then like people respect me more, So but then the thing is like I'm actually over 30 years old,
Okay.
and I don't know how many years I have left that I can keep pushing to the point that I can actually still improve. But I think, I'll work with what I have, and then try to push as hard as possible, and maybe hopefully I can climb like V8s or something like that in a few years.
Yeah. There's a lot to be said there. I mean, the relationships that are built through climbing are 90% of the reason we started this show. We love the community. We absolutely love it. We love going to events. We set up a booth. We just talk to people about climbing. We have some merchandise that we give out because people like the logo of the show, and it really brings the community to us, which I really like. Because you can go out and find the climbing community anywhere, but it's something special to be able to bring it to you, and have it kind of centralized around you, even if just a small part of it. And with people, I mean, the people that we have met through Vertical Thoughts, and I'm sure you're the same, through your YouTube channel. And we talked about this a little bit prior to the show, but just people that we would never, ever have had the opportunity to meet, or I guess had the context to meet. I'm sure like people you could meet at some point, but you would never have like the context to be like, hey, do you want to meet with me? Because I don't know, I'm a fan of yours. But now it's like you have a tangible thing, and you're like, do you want to, link up and collaborate in some way? So you recently did that in a pretty big way overseas, right? I think there were some videos about that over in London, I believe. Right?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that experience for me.
Yeah, so I actually get to meet the Bouldering Bobats, and then I think it's pretty amazing how YouTube connects us together. Like meaning, say, if I don't have a YouTube channel, I'll never meet them in person. And then like prior to meeting them, I was actually a bit nervous. I'm not sure whether I'll get along with them or not. So I didn't even say, hey, let's try to do a collab video. I didn't even request that beforehand. I want to say, I want to meet with them and see if we can get along. And obviously enough, we get along. And I think it's pretty amazing. And then we kind of share our experiences in YouTube and in climbing. And then we connect. And since my time staying there is limited, it's only a week, and they have others like stuff like scheduled, but they still is willing to like try to accommodate my schedule and then squeeze out time and then to shoot videos with me and then share their experience with me. That for me is very, very amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Special experience, and I've never met Omar and the boys, but they seem very nice. They seem like
very cool people.
Yeah, very friendly guys. I think that's a trend with climbers. They seem to me like climbers. I watch the videos. I think they're hilarious. I think they're great videos. So many different personalities. I think is what really brings it home. Is that you have such a spread of different people. That are all friends and they're all climbing together, and reminds me of me and my friends climbing at the gym. Which, I mean, you captured it perfectly. So good job, guys. Yeah, you really make relatable content, which is awesome. But for the video creation side of that, so you actually went into that not knowing if you would make videos.
Right.
Interesting. Okay, so I mean, that makes sense. It really does, because if there's no chemistry there, then you don't want to force something. So was that the first time you'd been to London, or have you been over there before?
No, it's my first time.
Okay. I've always wanted to go climb at those gyms.
Yeah, and then one thing about London that impresses me the most is the amount of climbing gyms there is a lot. It's very dense. Like, meaning, in order for the finances to make sense, that means there got to be a lot of people climbing in order for it to make sense. And one of the gyms I've been to is like the Vauxhall. When I go there on weekends, it's like packed.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wow. I mean, is it because that people in London, they don't play basketball, they don't play football, so that's why they go climbing? Or I was like, wow, now I can see why like climbing, I guess in Europe is like larger than in the States.
Yeah, definitely. And the gyms are more developed, I think, over there. We have a lot of really good gyms here in Southern California. And we have a lot of gyms, period, in Southern California. Actually, something that, like you said, surprises me is just the sheer amount of climbing gyms now that we have here. Just dictates like how many climbers, just in sheer quantity. Because you're right, someone's got to keep those gyms in business. Right. And they're climbing gyms have overhead. Have you ever bought climbing holds? They're so expensive. I can't even imagine. I wanted to build a climbing wall, and I was like, wood's cheap, T-nuts cheap, easy, right? Labor, I got this. Me in my garage, some tools, a couple beers, easy. I looked up holds, and I was like, shut it down. Shut it all down. Let's just wait for them to sponsor us. No, but it's expensive. Climbing gyms have a lot of overhead. We're going to have an episode about that upcoming here. I'm going to have one of the managers of a chain of local gyms here in Southern California come in and talk to me about that stuff. But what is your home gym here in Southern California?
Oh, it's Mesa Rim in San Diego, the one at Mission Valley.
Okay. Is that the newer one?
Yes.
Okay. I went there recently with some friends and checked it out. I'd never been there before. It's an impressive facility. Yeah,
it's super huge and very bright, and then there's like top roping and bouldering in the gym area. It's amazing.
Yeah, they even had. I like that they have meeting rooms that are named after different climbing areas in Southern California. I just thought that was funny. You, like, at a business sense, you'd be like, something we meet in like 11:30 at Joshua Tree. People are like, Joshua Tree? I'm not driving to Joshua Tree to meet you. I like that. I think that's cool. But we went there and checked it out, and they had some. In my opinion, very impressive setting, very strong setting at that gym. One of the setters from my local gym here, which is Vital, actually moved to Mesa Rim to start setting there. And as I understand, it's a very experienced group of setters, very strong climbers and very experienced setters who really can build some good stuff. How long have you been climbing there for?
Since the start. I mean, when I forgot the time, was it like 2014 or 2015?
That sounds right.
Yeah, and when they started, I just immediately switched there to climb. Because usually I climb at, initially I started climbing at UCSD, and then eventually moved to Vertical Hold, and then eventually moved to the old Mesa Rim, and then the new Mesa Rim.
Yeah. You found your home.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's a great facility if you're in Southern California. Haven't checked out Mesa Rim. There's two in Southern California. There's like a northern one that's kind of up in northern San Diego, and then there's one kind of in the heart of San Diego. We're talking about the lower one, the southern one in the heart of San Diego, like in Mission Valley, right?
Yes.
Okay. Is that near the airport?
Maybe around like 10 to 15 minutes away, so it's pretty close.
Yeah, so right in the heart of San Diego. The building's a giant box. It's like a giant copper-colored box.
Right.
Or when I saw it, I was just like, that's intimidating. I'm scared of that building. But yeah, it's an awesome facility. And we're blessed with, like I said, many climbing facilities here in Southern California. I like to go experience new gyms almost as much as I like to go to like Crags Outdoors. For me, it's just as exciting. When I'm like, we pile in the car with some buddies and we're going to go check out a new gym, I'm excited. I'm like, I'm nervous. Like I'm going to send nothing. I'm going to fall off everything. My problem is I go and I touch every climb in the first 20 minutes and my forearms just balloon up. And then I'm like, well, I can't climb anymore. So thanks for coming. But so how often do you film at that gym, if ever? Or do you film most of your stuff there?
I've filmed most of my stuff there, actually. Okay. And in terms of how often, I mean, I try my best to at least create a video every 2 weeks. Okay. Because I do, unfortunately, have a traditional full-time office job. Sure. So the time that I can shoot videos is on weekends. And then, I mean, I have a lot of video ideas I wanna do, and then it's just hard to get to each single of them. But I do film at Mesa Rim for most of my videos.
Okay. Do people there know you for your videos?
I think so. You? I think so. Yeah, okay. I get recognized quite often, and then I'm sure like people there like see me doing something in front of the camera, so they gotta know that's me.
Right.
And that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Is it mostly just you, or do you have people that help you with production?
So most of the time it's just me. But if there are times that I need to have someone to move the camera, then that would be my wife.
Oh, okay.
But most of the time, I try to do it myself if possible. Because say when I go to a gym to climb during lunch break during weekdays, my wife cannot be there because she has her own full-time job. So I gotta be able to film with myself. But if it's on weekends and for some particular shots that we actually need some camera panning or some zooming or something like that, then I'll have my wife to help me.
Nice. That's how it is for me. Brooke and I are not married, but we live together here in our home studio, and she's, the go-to if I need something. I yell, Brooke! I do that. She knows. She's not here right now. Otherwise, she would have come rushing. Yes, what do you need? Just kidding. That's not how it is. But no, it's really nice to have, a partner in that way.
Absolutely.
Go to. And I have a lot of my friends also that help me with the vertical thought stuff. But the actual content, for the most part, I do on my own. And I can definitely relate to having a full-time job and doing content on the side, because I also, full-time job during the week. So this weekly podcast thing has been killing me. No, it's been a lot of fun. And I wish I had more time. And have you ever considered, if you were provided the opportunity, doing YouTube full time?
Like for me, I think if there's an opportunity, I think for sure. But I think it's very, I guess, like far-fetched for me. I think because I do like think about this, and then I even try to email like big climbing brands and try to get sponsorships. Like say like Black Diamond or a Sport Evolve or Evolve, but they're not interested in sponsoring me. I mean, they're more interested in sponsoring like pro climbers, pro athletes.
Yeah.
And I didn't reach out to them when I was just starting out. I actually reached out to them when I actually have a sizable audience on YouTube. But I guess they want to try to stick to the traditional route, so that's harder. And the companies that reach out to me are typically like non-traditional climbing brands or like small startups that want to ask me to like do like direct marketing to promote their products. That kind of, and then it's based on like commission-based income. So that means I got to try really hard to do a good job to sell the product, and that's hard because I think climbers are generally they don't like to be sold to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then because and eventually say like. Yeah, actually, I'm not exactly sure how the big climbing brand sponsorship works, but from what I heard is, the sponsors will give this the athletes that they sponsor a monthly stipend, and they will have to maybe put a image on Instagram, or even say wear the shoes when they're shooting their videos or something like that. And then for me, I don't think, at least in the near term, that the big climbing brands will look at like us, kind of like the not so strong climbers, but has a sizable audience on YouTube for sponsorship. So I think this will continue to be on the side, and then making this a full-time job wasn't the original intent.
True.
Anyways, and I do it for my English, and now I'm doing it for fun, and I get to meet a lot of amazing people because of it, and that magical moment for me was actually when I get to meet Paul Robinson. Because I do remember that at the hangboard video, I kind of references his video and then say, his hangboard training routine is too hard for me. And I guess that kind of caught his attention. And he will say, no, that's not too hard for you. I'm going to show you how to train. And I get to meet him in person. And then he's just awesome. I mean, he's a super nice individual. And then there's very friendly, and I mean, I just can't find words to describe how awesome he is. I mean, like I was like a casual fan of his prior to meeting him, but now I'm the hardcore fan of Paul Robinson. Whenever he has a video,
he sold you on his brand. He got you.
I'm gonna watch his video and see what he's up to. And then like so when I tell my friends back in Asia that like, yo, I actually meet Paul Robinson in person, and they're like, what? They're like, are you kidding me? And then I think that's like the magical moment for me for doing YouTube. Yeah,
definitely. Paul's a very nice guy, very encouraging. You know what I mean? So it's not surprising to me that something like that would happen. It's so cool to me that he's a climbing legend. I mean, all climbers know who Paul Robinson is. He's been around forever. He crushes, at the top level of the sport, but you'd never know it talking to him. He's just like, he's so mellow and normal, and just down to earth. And I don't mean that he's not special, because he's very special. He's very strong, but he's the most just like I'm a normal, nice dude that I've ever seen in like a professional athlete. I haven't met like a huge spattering of professional athletes, but he was extremely kind and extremely informative on our show, and I'm also a diehard fan, and he makes really good videos. I mean, his videos always look amazing.
Right.
But so it's really cool, the relationships that are developed through content. Do you have any kind of long-term goals for the future of your channel other than, like monetarily, excluding that? So, let's take away like money and just talk about, what are your goals for the future of the channel? Is there anything that you would like to do that you haven't done yet?
That's actually a great question. I don't have like a super long-term goal for the channel. I think for me, it's just like trying to make more viral videos, because I do enjoy being tested on the creativity. Because when I first started, I look at the climbing video landscape. I think what get views are like training and technique videos, and like for me, I can make technique videos, but those techniques is definitely repeated somewhere in other people's video. And for training, I'm not strong enough. And then so if I just film myself training for a day, I mean, that's not going to get any views because I'm not a pro athlete. And so I did spend a lot of time to, like experiment different video ideas. So I even did something crazy like doing pranks, doing street interviews, doing like stand-up comedy, and doing skits. I mean, all sorts of crazy stuff, but none of them really works. And then eventually what I figured out that works is actually a variant of training, which is I actually try to show progress in training. So I was able to do that. So the handboard video, it gone viral, and recently there's a muscle video that also gone viral. I mean, YouTube is difficult because like for those progression video, first of all, it takes a huge effort to make them, and then second thing is you're not guaranteed to have a progression because when I learned the muscle up, I was like in a constant fear that it will take me, say like half a year or even a year to learn it, and I'll have no videos to upload in half a year in 1 year. Like that's something I'm definitely continuing to do. But then I also have to figure out another type of video content that I can consistently pump out, and that will be able to get like consistent views. And that's hard. Like for example, say I have 2 viral videos, but if I just go out there and then do say a vlog of me climbing some outdoor climbs, for example, that at most is just gonna get like 10K views. So it's like a huge difference. But again, I go back to the Bobats, like their videos, whatever they put out, they'll get like 50K views like consistently, and that's super impressive like to me, because like that means like these viewers are like hardcore fans, so they will support them if they want to say sell anything or something like that. Whereas say even if I have a video that has 4 million views, but maybe 3.9 million of them just watch and then just leave, right?
Yeah.
So that I get some ad revenue, but that's it, right?
Yeah.
So like YouTube is definitely hard, and I enjoy the process of figuring out how it works. And I think it's a test on creativity. And then and I don't think I'm there yet. Maybe if eventually I'm there yet, I get bored of YouTube and then I move on to something else.
Yeah.
But now, not yet. No, I'm still trying to figure out how YouTube works.
Yeah, what makes the algorithm tick? None of us know. Nobody knows. Not even they know. They made the algorithm and then it just ran away. Now it does its own thing. So I think channels like that, kind of the I don't know, the 2 most noteworthy like climbing vlog channels are of course Eric Carlson and Bouldering Bobats. Those are like, and then there you have like Lizzie Ellison, Bouldering Bobats along with the Bobats, and there's lots of climbing vlog channels out there, but there's it really speaks to just the personalities. I think people for whatever reason, the internet collectively, the world just chose people and their personalities to love, and like you said, they could put out absolutely anything. And people would watch, and people would, like, share, subscribe. They would do everything, right? And it's because, like you said, they're diehard fans of just the people themselves. It's really difficult to establish a brand like that. And I want to take a moment just to speak to content creating in general. This is something that I get a lot. So money in content creation. So a lot of people say, we make content creation, we don't do it for the money, or it's not about the money, or you hear a lot of talk about money when it comes to this stuff. I think that maybe there's a lack of experience when people talk about this generally, because I would agree it's not about the money, but with how much effort goes into it, how much time, equipment, experience, you know what I mean? Like with how much you dedicate and how much you put into content creation, I think people who dedicate lots and lots of time to it deserve to see some kind of return on their investment.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So in my opinion, there is nothing wrong with earning money from your content. I think people are wary about that these days. I think people are like, oh, well, it's not about the money. You shouldn't do it for the money. You should do it for you. And while that's a great idea, you don't want to spend 50 hours working on a video just for you. You know what I mean? Like you want to see some kind of return on your investment. And you're right. It is extremely difficult to actually build a foundation to the point where you can just do that. I'm sure it's amazing and wonderful once you get to that point. I would love to just do this every day, you know, but I also have a day job to support myself. And so, yeah, I would say I don't do this for the money. Would I take lots of money to do this? You bet. You bet you're climbing. You bet your 5'10" moccasins that I would do this for money. And so I think it's unfair of people to I guess, separate the two, you know, money and content creation, because content is a product. You know, you're making a product and you're making it likable, and you're subject as a creator to viewers. Like you said, you have to make something that people will click on and watch. And catering to a certain audience, that's not a sin. I don't know. People came up with this weird idea that, oh, you're a sellout if you make videos just to get views. No, that's what you need to do, you know? And like with viral videos, sometimes to give yourself that extra boost, that's all it takes. For some people is one big video that goes big enough to kind of like, then, you know, the crowd filters into all their other videos and they check them out. And, and I'll be honest, I've stumbled upon many of your videos just rolling through YouTube, and I like them. You're doing a good job. So you're obviously doing something right. I think that in the next 5 years, I'm going to call it 5 years, viewership of rock climbing is going to go through the roof, because, I mean, we have the Olympics coming up. People are going to see rock climbing in the Olympics, and they're going to be like, what's this sport all about? Those guys are crazy. I want to do what those guys do. And then they'll type in how to rock climb, and first video, Geek Climber, average climber hangboards for 30 days. And they're going to be like, they're going to learn how to hangboard for 30 days and get stronger.
Yeah. And speaking of this, I do have a question that I want to ask you. Do you watch competitions, climbing competitions?
Yes. I wouldn't say religiously. I usually, again, it's a time thing. They're long, you know, so I usually don't have time. But if I'm at work, sometimes I'll throw it on my work computer, and while I'm doing other stuff, I'll just keep an eye on it. Or I'll watch the replays later on, like the IFSC stuff. I love the IFSC stuff, USA Bouldering. I loved all that stuff. But I love watching competition climbing.
I see. Yeah. And I think like in general, the viewership of climbing competitions is definitely lower compared to, say, like basketball or football. Like there are a lot of people who don't even play football or basketball, and they love to watch them, and that's how the sport become big. Right? So I was thinking, is there a way to maybe improve maybe the form of the competition, or even the marketing or camera work or something like that, to make climbing competition more, I guess, like interesting to the general masses?
That's a really good question. So in order to generalize interest in climbing, to be honest, I think the Olympics is going to be a huge part of that, because I think most people that are exposed to indoor climbing for the first time, first of all, it's a very individual and personal sport. So there's not like a team they can get behind. You know what I mean? I think that's what it is with a lot of those bigger sports, basketball, football, baseball, is you have a team for your city, you know, and you're supposed to be fans of that team in your city, or fans of like a rival team in another city. And then you back that team, you wear the shirts, you got the hat on, you know, your beer cozy every Sunday, you're watching those games. With climbing, it's just like single athletes. And I think people find it harder to relate to, you know, say the strongest climbers in the world. You know, I can't really relate to them. I mean, as a climber, I can, but they're so much better than I am. And I don't live the life they live at all. So it's hard for me without, let's say I wasn't a fan of the sport. Let's say I didn't climb at all. I think that viewership would be tough for me to like be super into watching it. However, I think the more people that watch it, the more people are going to do it. They're going to go climbing. They're going to go check out their local gyms. And I do think production quality has a big part in that. I think the higher, you know, production value we have in climbing, and it's getting much better. Like climbing competitions, again, like 5 years ago, the production value just wasn't there, mostly because they didn't have the support. You know, they can't afford to buy super expensive cameras and stuff like that, because who's paying for that? You know, someone's got to pay for it all. But now I think the production value is getting higher and higher. IFSC's really stepped it up in terms of production value. They're making themselves seem a lot more like, you know, a basketball type franchise like ESPN. You know what I mean? They're making themselves look more like one of those sports networks. And I think it's paying dividends for sure. But I think the biggest thing is just exposure. More people have to see it in order to watch it. I don't know if it'll ever be, you know, football, baseball, basketball, soccer. I don't know if it'll ever be like those, just because the nature of the sport, it's an extreme sport. You know what I mean? So other extreme sports, you think of, surfing, skateboarding, snowboarding, like mountain biking, those kinds of extreme sports, they definitely have viewership, but it's nowhere near football. You know what I mean? We'll never touch the Super Bowl. I don't think it'll ever get to that point. It'd be really cool to see climbing, be featured on major sports networks though, and be like popular.
So let's say if you're the president of the IFSC, like in for a day, for example, what's the thing that you would change, or would you just continue to do what they're doing?
Ooh, that's a hard one. Me, the president of the IFSC. I like that. I like the sound of that. Yeah, yeah. That's nice. President of the IFSC, William Wynn. That's me. I think for me, production value is huge. I put a huge emphasis on production quality and value. We're limited right now with this show specifically just because, again, 100% self-funded. So I don't have all the money in the world to throw at my projects. But if I ran a corporation, I think these corporations do it well. But of course, you need to move money where it needs to go. And for me, production value is way up there. Quality's got to be amazing. And a lot of climbing content actually comes from outside sources, photographers that go to the competitions that don't necessarily work for the competitions, but that take, pictures, videos, that kind of stuff. But that is the one thing that I think I would put an emphasis on changing is, and I'm not saying the production quality is bad at all. Just elevate it, as much as feasible, make it as high quality as possible, so that like the viewer experience at home is as immersive and in depth as it possibly can be. I couldn't tell you exactly how to do that just because I'm not a major production manager or anything like that. I don't necessarily have the experience to back it up, but I do think that sometimes competition climbing, if you're not a climber, can be boring to watch for sure. I would try and put it this way: I'd hire the people who know how to change that, I guess. That's like the one thing that I would tackle. But other than that, I mean, just sit back in my IFSC throne and just enjoy it, just bask in it. No, that's a good question though. I can tell. Is that something that you thought about before?
Yeah, I thought about it before, but I couldn't. I don't have a concrete answer myself, so that's why I'm curious to see what other people think about it. Like for me, I mean, I think. Like sometimes, say on Reddit, I do see like highlights for like when people climb. I think that kind of that should be done more. I mean, that would draw viewership. Like for example, say if you have a basketball game, I mean, there are some certain people that will watch the entire game, but I think most of the people will just watch the highlights.
Yeah.
Right. And then for climbing, I feel like we need more of that kind of like presentation to the general public as well. And then in terms of the form of competition, I mean, I think it's hard to try to keep the integrity of the game, like keep it the same, but not change it too much. Like meaning, like recently, I think the recent few years, like there's a thing that called like partner climbing that kind of is getting famous on Instagram. So basically, you have like two guys, and then you gotta use another guy's leg and step on his leg and then climb, that kind of thing. I think that's definitely I guess like more fun for the non-climbers to watch.
I can see that.
Yeah, but again, at the same time, and there are like climbing maybe purists maybe will think that okay, that's actually not climbing,
right?
That's just a gimmick, right? So so it's hard to I guess like find a balance. But I mean, I'm interested in this topic. I mean, obviously because I have skin in the game, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I do want to like make the pie bigger for everyone. I mean, I want to think about this, but I don't have I'm not the president of IFSC, but I still, trying to think about this just for like I guess like for mental exercises purpose. I'm not sure what's a good way to say it, but I think it's one thing to think about.
It is.
Yeah.
And you make some good points there. I mean, let's throw it out to the listeners. Comment below or send us a DM or whatever. How do we make climbing entertainment for the masses? And another question, follow-up question. I know this is going to spark some debate. Should we make climbing entertaining for the masses? There are some people out there who are going to say no. They're going to be like, nope, my gym's busy enough. You get out of here with that talk, right? I don't need more people watching climbing, coming into my gym, Gumbies.
Yeah.
No, there's people like that out there who think like that. I'm all for growth of the sport. 100%, I think the more people that are in the melting pot of climbing, the bigger the sport's going to grow. If the gym gets busy, guess what? The gym's making more money. They can open another gym. You can go climb at that one. Yeah. It's just the sport is growing and elevating at a rate that's, much steeper than it has been for the past decade. And you can see it everywhere. And is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Who am I to say, really? I think it's a great thing. I think it's awesome to see. That's a really good question. And I do think that there are climbing moments in competitions that are highlight reel worthy. You know what I mean? That are like mind boggling to watch. And you do see a lot of, I click on basketball highlight videos. I don't watch basketball at all, but I'll watch the highlight videos or dunk contests. Where's the dyno contests? We need IFSC. I'm talking to you. We need dyno contests. We need dyno contests. That's going to get highlight reels. I'm only half being serious. But also, I do think that kind of climbing drives viewership. And we talked about this on our setting episode, but the more acrobatic style of rock climbing, jumping around and coordination moves, I think that's better for viewership.
Absolutely. I agree with it.
Yeah. And so, is it better for climbing? I don't know. I'm not competing, so I don't want to speak to that really, but certainly it's more fun to watch, in my opinion. I like that kind of style of climb. I like dynos, jumping around. I just jump around like crazy. So, I'm not a static man. It's what I do. ADHD will do that to you. But yeah, it's a very interesting question. And it is something fun to think about. How can we change the sport and make it more popular to the masses, entertainment media for the masses. I think your content does a good service to the climbing community of speaking to the climbers that don't climb V12. You know what I mean? Because how many of those are out there really? There can't be that many, although these days it seems like everyone's climbing V12, except for me. But I think a lot of the future of climbing media lies with the average climber. And you use that term a lot in your video titles.
I'm the definition of average.
Yeah, average climber. The average climber makes up the majority of viewers on YouTube, for example. Maybe not competition climbing. I don't know those statistics, but I know on YouTube, most of those views are not coming from people that climb V8, V9 plus. They're down there a lot of them just started. A lot of the people that listen to our show just started, and
that's amazing.
Climb V0, V1, or don't climb at all, even. And that speaks to where the sport is going. If you're listening to this and you climb low grades, keep climbing low grades. Just have fun. Pushing grades is awesome. And when you get that first V4, V5, whatever you're working on, it's going to feel mind-bogglingly amazing. You're going to be at the top of the wall on that last hold, and it's going to be surreal. Did I just do that? Did I just climb that climb? I must have dabbed somewhere because no way I can do that. And it's an amazing feeling. However, I do think that you are not alone. The average climber, it's called average for a reason. That's where most of the people exist. And I think your style of content catering to the average climber, in my opinion, I think that's gaining traction, because you can go on YouTube and see a plethora of videos of the best climbers in the world climbing V12 plus, V15 even. That's its own category of content. That's its own thing. Average climbers progressing, though, is a totally different thing. And in my opinion, just as cool to watch. I really like watching people succeed. And Jeremy Arntz on Instagram at Sleep, Eat, Climb, Repeat, we had him on the show. And he's gained a large following just by posting his own progression, and his story in climbing. And so I really think, I don't know, I go back and forth with this a lot. I slip on ice with this topic, but I really think that the future of climbing media lies with the average climber. I really do.
Yeah, I think there has to be climbing contents for different level of climbers. Say, when you first get into climbing, maybe you will watch Geek Climber's video, and then eventually maybe you will graduate and you'll watch Bouldering Bobats, and then Eric Carlson, and their videos, and then we'll have more and more climbers that come in. And I'll try my best to retain them, because some climbers, they come in and climb, and then they go. It's not like, say, the V10, V12 climbers. They're gonna climb for their entire lives for sure, right? but if we want to make like the whole climbing community larger, I mean, like say like for me and say like Rock Entry, that like guys who make videos for beginner and intermediate climbers, we gotta do a good job, right?
Yeah.
To entice them into starting a sport and eventually, and get better and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And it's important to have that support for new climbers. When I started climbing, I watched pro climbers, and I actually struggled with that a lot because I was like, man, I'll just never be that good. That's my problem, is I'll never be that good. And that's probably true. I'll probably never be that good. I think most of us will never be that good, realistically. That's not what it's about, though, right? And it's relatable. That's the main thing, is climbers like to see something that's relatable, because we have lacked that content for so many years. There have been like people who I'm sure just think I'm not strong enough. People don't care if, they don't want to watch me climb V3. Like they do. They probably do, because they probably climb V3 also. And they want to see someone else who is human, actually. And not, it's fun to watch Jimmy Webb, but every time I watch him climb, I'm like, man, stop. It's not fair. I mean, it is fair because you worked really hard for this and you deserve it. And I love you, but cut it out for a second. At least fall once, just fall for me. It's polite. But I really like that the average climber now has something to relate to on YouTube that's popular. You know what I mean? That's getting tens of thousands of views because there's tens of thousands of new climbers doing it, right? And do you like the kind of how-to style or the tutorial style of climbing? Like, let's say if you had your choice, if people were going to watch your videos no matter what, would you prefer that kind of tutorial or how-to style over like a vlog kind of style, or would you prefer to do that if you had the audience?
That's a great question. Like for me, I think the how-to style video, that's definitely, like, there's a need for it, because like people, the beginner climbers, they want to be able to learn, and then I can make the short how-to style videos for them to quickly learn some techniques on climbing.
Yeah.
But then there's a limited amount of techniques out there, right?
Right.
And then for the more advanced techniques, I mean, maybe I'm not qualified to give that advice. So, but then for like vlogs, that's like you can create it wherever, whenever, right? That's an easier type of content to create. But then to get views for that type of content is very difficult. Like it's a personality based, and then somehow, and you gotta put it out consistently, so that the YouTube algorithm won't punish you, stuff like that. So that's very difficult, and I haven't get there yet. Like currently, I'm still trying to experiment what type of video would go will have a lot of views, say like the training progression ones, and maybe something else that I'm still trying to figure out. It's
a tough balance, and those kinds of how-to videos are certainly more work. I mean, you got to have the production value for sure, because you want it to look like something you'd want to watch. You know what I mean? So if you're ever just making a vlog, for the most part, it's fairly easy because the content speaks for itself in terms of entertaining value. So you don't have to have cool infographics or anything like that. You can, for sure, and it does up the production value. But people are there for the content. So I guess the production value kind of will take a secondary to that. Those bigger climbing channels, even if they didn't edit their videos, they do, and they tend to do a pretty good job usually. Even if they didn't, they'd still get views.
Yep.
People are there for the content. So that's a cool one. It's an interesting balance, and I truly wish you the best in terms of your YouTube channel. I hope that you find great success in the future. I think you will. Remember that I said that. That was me.
I appreciate it.
Liam from Vertical Thoughts, he called it. All of you listen to me. But before we finish up here, do you have any closing thoughts, last questions, anything like that?
I mean, not really. I mean, great conversation, and I definitely appreciate you having me. It was a great experience for me as well. Learned a lot, so keep consuming rock climbing content, guys.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Bring it in. Well, I appreciate you coming in. Thanks so much for talking to me. Maybe we'll see you again on the show. We'll see. Maybe the listeners hearing this will request it. If you want to hear them on the show again, make sure you tell us. In fact, for anyone, if you want to hear anyone on the show again, make sure you tell us. Give us feedback. We want to hear about it. We recently got one review on iTunes. We have lots of 5-star reviews on iTunes. We got one-star review, and the guy just said Gumby trash. Those were his words.
Oh my God.
Gumby trash. The most heinous climbing insult I've ever received, but also it's kind of hilarious at the same time. But also please take that down. But no, if you haven't, go iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, drop a like, leave us a review. We greatly appreciate it. We're having fun here with Vertical Talks.
You know what? Speaking of haters, I do have a few stuff to share.
Let's talk about haters.
Do you have some time to talk about this?
Let's keep it going.
Oh yeah. So I mean, I feel like once you get haters, that means your channel or podcast is influential and large enough to a certain degree. That's why they're here.
Yeah.
Right? And then I want to tell you like an interesting story where, say before I came to the United States, I always heard about there's like racism and stuff like that, and when I came to the States and then about like 10 years ago, and I was like, there's no racism. Like the United States is perfect. Everyone's so nice to me. I wasn't judged because of my language or my skin color or something like that. But it's not until I started doing YouTube, I was like, oh man, so this is what racism is.
Are on the internet.
They are on the internet.
Yep.
And then I think it's kind of interesting because they say racist stuff to you, and then I actually figure out like a good response to them.
Yeah.
Because if you say racist stuff back to them, it's not solving anything.
Right.
And then if you say, hey, I'll say be nice, don't be a racist. I mean, that's too nice, right?
Right.
They don't really get it. So the funny thing is, so my default response to these type of people is say, hey, did you recently lose a job to an immigrant? I feel bad for incompetency, man.
Oh no.
And then they always get triggered. Like I always get another more racist comments like 10 minutes later. Like,
yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I got you. So hopefully you will learn a lesson and not to be racist to people.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just a kind of a funny story that I want to share. Like dealing with haters and internet in general. I'll say, just try to don't let it get to your head, and then when you see it, and when you got these, just kind of thinking it another way, that means you actually matters. Like, people actually want to talk you down, and that means you're actually doing a good job on creating your content. So don't be too affected by those, like the Gumby comment that you received.
The Gumby trash. Yeah, more than anything, I just saw the comment and I just thought it was funny. I was like, you will never, anything non-climbing, you'll never see those words. So like if a non-climber was reading the reviews for my podcast and they saw that, they'd be like, Gumby, what does that even mean? Like, that's the most climbing specific like hate term that I've ever heard. I thought it was really funny to me. I think I'm half convinced it's someone I know just messing with me, to be honest. If it is, please take that down because I don't want the 1-star review. You can leave the Gumby trash, just make it a 5-star review and then Gumby trash. I'm cool with that. But yeah, if you have haters, I mean, they flock to the watering hole. So where the content is good, that's where people will be there trying to make it bad.
Yep.
And there's no room for racism in climbing. I just want to throw that out there. Stop. You're gonna be trash if you make racist comments towards climbers. There's no room for that here. First of all, it's bigger in other countries than it is here anyways, so that doesn't make sense. Anyways, we'll move on from another episode. We'll talk about racism and climbing. But yeah, so anything that you want to say to your viewers, if any of them are here listening to this?
Yeah, I mean, so I talk about a lot of stuff different stuff I typically don't talk about in my channel. So definitely check it out. I mean, if you want to know, I guess like the deeper thoughts of what I have, definitely check this podcast out. I mean, I'm sure if you're an immigrant, you'll definitely relate to, and then if you're not an immigrant, you will find my story interesting. It's very different from other climbers. So check it out.
Yeah. Absolutely agree. Where can the people find you? Where do they need to go to find you, your videos, social media, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so just go to YouTube, search Geek Climber, and then it should pop out immediately, and then enjoy my videos.
Oh, yeah. We will also have links if you're watching this on YouTube in the description to the YouTube channel and any social media, which we haven't even talked about yet. But if there is social media to send you to, it'll be below. Find it below. But thank you so much for coming on. I've appreciated talking to you, and we're going to wrap this one up for today. This was a little weird for me. This was, again, I mentioned earlier, only the second episode of our podcast we've recorded in the morning. It's always at night. Oh. I feel much more awake. I should do this more. I'm realizing that I'm much more mentally stimulated early in the morning than I am at night. So, but you brought it out of me. I appreciate you coming in, and thank you guys for watching, for listening, and as always, Monday at 9 a.m. We'll see you next Monday again at 9 a.m. and probably the following Monday at 9 a.m. I do want to announce that we will be doing a seasonal format. I considered this for a long time, something that I really thought about, and I've come to the conclusion that it is what I want to do. Vertical Thoughts Season 1 will be ending probably at the end of October, and then we're going to take a brief break, and then we're going to come back with Season 2. So more on that later, though. Thank you guys for listening or watching, whatever you're doing. Thank you again for coming on.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.